Fellow Stoic, they never wanted you to know this. The less you speak, the more powerful you become. Here's how to master the art of saying less. They conditioned you to believe that speaking more means knowing more, that the loudest person in the room is the smartest, the most influential. But what if I told you that the most powerful people in history, leaders, philosophers, strategists, did not waste their words? They mastered the art of silence. They spoke with precision, leaving others hanging on to their every syllable. Stoicism teaches that speech is not about the quantity of words, but their impact. Every word you say can either build your power or give it away. Right now, you may not even realize how much of your power you surrendered by over-explaining, justifying yourself, or speaking when silence would have been stronger. But today, that changes. In this video, you will discover why those who speak less are respected more, how the greatest Stoics use measured speech to command authority, and how eliminating unnecessary words strengthens your presence. If you're ready to take back your power, hit like and comment yes right now. And remember this, the moment you learn to control your tongue, you control the room. Stay with me to the end, because what you'll hear today will change the way you speak and the way the world listens. Why people who talk less are respected more. There was a time when you thought speaking more would earn you respect, that explaining yourself would make them understand, that proving your knowledge would make them listen. But instead, the more you talked, the less they valued your words. You felt it, that slow, sinking realization that no matter how much effort you put into being heard, it only made people dismiss you more. You could see it in their eyes, their shifting attention, the way they nodded but didn't really listen. And yet, there were others, people who barely spoke, yet commanded attention effortlessly. When they did speak, the room went silent. Their words were few, but they struck like lightning. You wondered, what is their secret? Why do those who say the least hold the most power? The answer lies in what the Stoics understood long before modern psychology confirmed it. People do not respect words, they respect presence. And presence is built on restraint. Think about the times when you felt the urge to over-explain, to justify, to fill the silence. Maybe it was during an argument, when you felt the need to defend yourself from accusations, only to find that your explanations made you look weaker. Or in a professional setting, when you kept talking to appear knowledgeable, but instead of impressing them, you noticed their interest fading. Or perhaps in a social situation, where you kept adding details, hoping to sound interesting, but ended up talking yourself into awkwardness. Over-talking comes from insecurity. We fear silence because it forces us to sit with ourselves. We talk excessively because we think we need to prove our worth. But what if I told you that the opposite is true? That real power comes from comfort in silence. That the less you say, the more they lean in. That every unnecessary word you speak is a drop of power leaving your hands. Seneca, one of the greatest Stoic thinkers, understood this deeply. He wrote, "Speech should be restrained with indefinite limits, and the speaker should not ramble but speak with a purpose." The Stoics knew that words, once spoken, cannot be taken back. They saw speech as a tool, not something to be used recklessly, but something to be wielded with precision, like a sword. They understood that when you speak less, people listen more, because silence creates intrigue. It forces others to wonder what you know that they do not. It makes them respect you, not for what you say, but for what you choose not to say. When Marcus Aurelius, the most powerful man of his time, advised restraint in speech, it was not because he lacked intelligence. It was because he understood that wisdom is not in speaking, but in knowing when to speak. The greatest leaders in history, from emperors to generals, understood this principle. And yet, modern society conditions you to do the opposite, to fill every silence, to over-explain, to justify yourself. They never wanted you to know that silence is power. And here's the shift that happens when you embrace this truth. People start treating you differently. They begin to respect your presence because they no longer have easy access to your thoughts. They listen more attentively when you do speak, because they know your words are measured, intentional, and rare. You'll notice that in conversations, people start seeking your approval, trying to earn your response. When you master the art of saying less, you become a mirror. People project onto you what they hope you are thinking. Their own assumptions do more work than your words ever could. Silence unsettles them. It forces them to engage, to analyze, to be drawn into your presence. It makes them respect you. And more than that, it makes them value what you say. Because when you do choose to speak, they know it matters. This is why the most powerful figures in history never wasted words. Why the wise are known for their quiet strength. Why those who listen more than they speak always seem to be the ones in control. This is your turning point. You no longer need to prove yourself with words. You no longer need to fill the silence. The next time you're tempted to over-explain, stop, let them sit in the silence. Let them feel the weight of your presence without you having to validate it with speech. And then, when you do choose to speak, make it count. Because when you master the power of restraint, you no longer chase respect. It is given to you freely. If you've ever realized that speaking less makes you more respected, comment power below. Because now, you understand what they never wanted you to know. The less you say, the more powerful you become. The Stoic principle of restraint in speech. You have been told that words are power. That the more you speak, the more influence you wield. That explaining yourself, defending your ideas, making sure people understand you will make them respect you. And yet, every time you give into this age, every time you fill the silence, over-explain, or justify yourself, something strange happens. You don't feel more powerful, you feel weaker. You can see it in their faces, the way they start nodding without really listening, the way their eyes wander, waiting for you to finish. The words that were meant to prove your intelligence, your authority, your value, only seem to dilute it. And then you notice something else. There are people who speak less, yet command far more respect. When they do speak, the room quiets and people listen. Their words carry weight, not because they are louder, but because they are rare. You wonder, why? Why does restraint in speech create such power? The answer is simple. Restraint signals control. And control, in a world of reckless talk, is magnetic. The struggle to hold back words is one of the greatest challenges in self-mastery. Every part of you wants to respond, to fill the silence, to defend yourself when misunderstood, to prove your worth when you feel dismissed. And so, you speak, more than you need to, more than is necessary. You explain yourself to people who have already made up their minds. You argue with those who don't actually seek truth, only dominance. You pour words into the void, hoping to be seen, to be valued, only to feel that the more you give, the less they take seriously. It happens in conversations with friends, in disagreements with family, in workplaces where you feel unseen. The need to speak, to be heard, is deeply human. But Stoicism teaches a different lesson, one that feels counterintuitive until you see it in action. It teaches that the less you say, the more powerful you become. It teaches that words should be used like a sword, selectively, with precision, only when they serve a purpose. Because every word you speak is either an investment in your power or a drain on it. Seneca, the great Stoic thinker, once wrote, "A person is not wise simply because they speak much." This wisdom is often lost in a world that rewards noise. But the Stoics saw speech differently, not as a way to assert dominance, but as a tool of discipline. Epictetus, a former slave who became one of the greatest Stoic teachers, had a simple rule. We have 2 ears and 1 mouth so that we may listen twice as much as we speak. To him, restraint was not about suppression, it was about refinement. Every unnecessary word spoken is a piece of yourself given away, a fragment of control surrendered. That is why the most powerful figures in history, from emperors to philosophers, have all mastered restraint in speech. They understood that silence forces others to reveal themselves. That when you hold back, you let others speak first, exposing their thoughts, their weaknesses, their intentions. You create an advantage simply by choosing when to engage. And most importantly, you preserve your energy, refusing to waste words on those who do not deserve them. And when you begin to practice this principle, you will see the transformation unfold. People start listening to you differently. They lean in when you speak because they know your words are intentional. The respect you once chased through explanations and justifications is given freely when you no longer offer it up for approval. You will notice how in arguments, the less you say, the more control you have. The one who speaks the most is often the one who is losing control, grasping for validation, trying to force their words to matter. But when you withhold, when you respond with measured speech or not at all, the dynamic shifts. They become unsettled. They start questioning themselves. They start trying to pull words from you, and in doing so, they give you power. This is why the great Stoics valued restraint, not because they lacked things to say, but because they knew that not everything needs to be said. They knew that true authority comes from measured speech, from speaking only when necessary, and from never using words as a means of proving one's worth. This is the discipline you must cultivate. The next time you feel the urge to fill the silence, resist. The next time someone provokes you, pause. Let them wonder what you are thinking. Let them feel the weight of what you choose not to say. Speak only when your words will change the outcome, not when they simply serve your emotions. Mastering restraint in speech does not mean never speaking. It means knowing when speech is power and when silence is stronger. The less you react, the more they feel your presence. The less you explain, the more they wonder what you know that they do not. And when you finally do speak, your words will cut through the noise like a blade, leaving no doubt that they were worth waiting for. If you've ever felt the power of silence, if you've ever held back when you once would have spoken and felt the shift in respect, the change in how others perceive you, then comment control below. Because now, you understand what they never wanted you to know. Restraint is not weakness, it is the ultimate strength. You might think talking more makes you seem smarter, more capable, more respected. But that's a lie they fed you. In fact, it does the opposite. And in just a moment, I'm going to tell you exactly how over-talking exposes your weaknesses. But before that, make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. If this video is opening your eyes, share it with someone who needs to hear this. And if you want to support this message, click the Super Thanks button below. Now, let's talk about the hidden dangers of over-talking. How over-talking weakens your presence. You've felt it before, that moment when you say too much, when your words spill out faster than you can control them, and afterward, you wish you had held back. Maybe it was in a disagreement, where you kept explaining yourself, hoping to make them understand, only to watch them dismiss you even more. Maybe it was in a meeting, where you tried to sound knowledgeable, but the more you spoke, the less authority you carried. Or perhaps in a moment of vulnerability, you shared too much with someone who didn't deserve it, only to regret it later. You're not alone in this. Everyone has fallen into the trap of over-talking, believing that more words mean more influence. But in reality, every unnecessary word you speak is a drop of power slipping from your hands. You might think you're clarifying, defending, or strengthening your position, but instead, you are making yourself smaller, giving others more information than they need, more leverage than they deserve. The irony is that while we talk to be heard, respected, and understood, too much talking often does the opposite. It weakens our presence, it makes us appear uncertain, and worst of all, it gives others control over us. Think about how often we explain ourselves to people who have already made up their minds. You try to justify a decision, thinking that if you just say the right words, they'll finally get it. You argue with someone who isn't really listening, only to exhaust yourself in the process. You give away your thoughts too freely, hoping to be validated, only to find that the more you say, the less they take you seriously. This is a hidden cost of overtalking. Every word you throw into the void of someone else's judgment is a piece of yourself that you surrender. And the worst part, they don't respect you more for it. In fact, they respect you less. Because true confidence doesn't need validation. True power doesn't need permission. And those who truly know their worth never beg to be understood. When you try too hard to prove yourself, what you're really saying is that you need their approval. And the moment they sense that, they have the upper hand. Epictetus, who started his life as a slave and rose to become one of the greatest Stoic teachers, understood this principle well. He once said, "If you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid." At first glance, this might seem like a strange statement. Why would a philosopher, someone devoted to wisdom, advise us to be content with appearing foolish? But this is where the deeper lesson lies. Epictetus wasn't telling us to be ignorant. He was teaching us to let go of the need to explain ourselves, to stop chasing validation, to stop fearing the opinions of others. Because a person who is desperate to be seen as intelligent, as respectable, as competent, is a person who is easily controlled. When you are willing to be misunderstood, when you can sit in the silence and let people assume what they want, you reclaim your power. You become untouchable. You operate on your own terms, rather than reacting to the judgments of those around you. And that is where real strength begins. And when you start practicing this, something incredible happens. You begin to notice a shift in the way people treat you. Conversations take on a different dynamic. When you stop over-explaining, people begin to listen more closely. When you let silence linger instead of rushing to fill it, they start to feel your presence more deeply. You become an enigma, someone they can't quite figure out, someone whose thoughts aren't so easily accessible. And because of that, they respect you. They wonder what you know that they don't. They sense a quiet confidence in you that they can't quite place. You are no longer an open book for them to read at their convenience. You become the kind of person whose words matter, not because you say a lot, but because you say just enough. And in doing so, you take control, not just of the conversation, but of how others perceive you, of the energy you give away, of the way your presence lingers long after you've spoken. This is the power of silence. It is not weakness. It is not avoidance. It is strategy. It is control. The less you explain, the more power you hold. The less you react, the more they wonder what you are thinking. The next time someone questions you, resist the urge to justify. The next time you feel pressure to speak, ask yourself if your words will truly change the situation, or if they will simply be wasted energy. Hold back. Let them sit in the silence. Let them feel the weight of your unspoken thoughts. And when you do choose to speak, make every word count. Because the truth is, they never needed more words from you. They only needed to feel the presence behind them. If you've ever felt the power of saying less, if you've ever held back and watched as others leaned in, trying to understand you, comment silence below. Because now you know the secret they never wanted you to learn. When you stop over talking, you don't fade into the background. You stand out. You don't lose power. You gain it. And the less you say, the more they listen. Mastering silence is a strategy. There was a time when you thought silence was weakness. That if you didn't respond immediately, if you didn't defend yourself, if you didn't prove your intelligence, you would be overlooked, dismissed, or worse, seen as powerless. But every time you gave in to the urge to react, something unexpected happened. You walked away feeling drained, frustrated, like you had given away a piece of yourself. You explained yourself to people who had already made up their minds, and no matter how carefully you chose your words, they twisted them, ignored them, or used them against you. You argued with someone who wasn't interested in understanding, only in winning, and instead of feeling heard, you felt exhausted. You defended yourself against an insult, only to realize later that by engaging, you gave power to the very words that were meant to provoke you. And then, you started to notice something. The ones who truly held power, the ones who commanded respect, were often the ones who said the least. They didn't rush to explain. They didn't react to every insult. They didn't feel the need to prove themselves. They let silence do the work for them. The hardest thing about mastering silence is overcoming the discomfort it brings. You feel it in your chest, that pressure, that need to speak, to fill the void, to make sure they understand your side. Silence feels unnatural at first. It makes you anxious, makes you feel like you're losing control. But the truth is, silence is control. The moment you stop reacting, something shifts. You see it in their eyes, in their body language. They start to second-guess themselves. They start to wonder what you're thinking. They start filling in the blanks, projecting their own fears and insecurities onto the silence you've left behind. Because here's the secret. They expect you to react. They expect you to argue, to explain, to get emotional. When you don't, it unsettles them. It forces them to sit with their own words, their own actions. It turns the weight of the moment back onto them. And suddenly, they don't feel so powerful anymore. The Stoics understood this better than anyone. Seneca said, "The greatest remedy for anger is delay." He knew that silence is not just the absence of words. It is a strategy, a test, a weapon. The greatest warriors and thinkers in history have always known this. The ones who win battles, in war and in life, are the ones who know when to hold back. Epictetus, a man who was born into slavery and yet rose to become one of the most influential Stoic philosophers, taught that true strength is found in restraint. He advised, if someone tells you that a certain person speaks ill of you, do not make excuses but simply answer, "He was ignorant of my other faults," or he would have mentioned them as well. This is mastery of silence, not just refusing to react, but embracing the fact that you do not need to, that their words mean nothing unless you choose to give them meaning. That the real battle is not in proving yourself, but in refusing to let others dictate your emotions. And when you begin to apply this, when you start using silence as a strategy instead of seeing it as a weakness, the world around you shifts. People begin treating you differently. They start respecting you more, not because you force them to, but because your silence speaks louder than their words ever could. You will notice how in conflicts, the less you react, the more power you hold. The person who speaks the most is often the person who is the most desperate for control. The one who remains silent is the one who actually has it. You will start to see opportunities open up, not because you are pushing for them, but because your presence commands them. In conversations, people will lean in, waiting for you to speak, because they know that when you do, it matters. And in moments of conflict, those who once sought to provoke you will hesitate, because they no longer have access to your emotions. They no longer know what you're thinking. And that alone is enough to shift the balance of power in your favor. This is your moment to reclaim your presence. You no longer have to explain yourself to those who have already decided who you are. You no longer have to argue with those who do not seek truth. You no longer have to defend yourself against insults that were only meant to provoke a reaction. The next time someone tries to pull you into their chaos, resist. Let the silence do the work. Let them wonder. Let them feel the weight of what you don't say. Because in that silence, you are not powerless. You are untouchable. You are in control. You are the one who sets the terms of the conversation, of the relationship, of your own presence. And that is the mark of true power. If you have ever used silence to turn a situation in your favor, if you have ever held back a response and watched as the balance of power shifted, comment strategy below. Because now, you understand what they never wanted you to know. Silence is not weakness. It is the ultimate form of control. We've seen how speaking less earns respect, why restraint is a Stoic's greatest tool, and how silence itself can be a strategy. But now, we reach the final key, the one that will set you apart. Because saying less is only half the equation. You must also learn how to make every word count, how to speak with impact. In the midst of life's endless noise and distractions, you may find yourself questioning the true power of your words. It feels as if every sentence you utter is lost in the whirlwind of chatter, drowned out by the constant buzz of opinions and empty phrases. In those quiet moments when you are left alone with your thoughts, the weight of your words seems to matter more than ever. You are not alone in this struggle. Many have battled the fear that their words are mere echoes in an uncaring void. Your journey is a reflection of a deeper truth. That speaking with impact is not about filling the silence with noise, but about choosing each word with deliberate care so that it resonates with purpose. Even in times of self-doubt, there is an invitation to rise above the clutter and discover that your voice, refined and intentional, has the power to change the course of your life and the lives of those who listen. The struggle to find that clarity in communication is as real as it is personal. You may have experienced moments when your words were misunderstood or dismissed, leaving you with a lingering sense of frustration and isolation. Perhaps you have been caught in the trap of over-explaining your thoughts, trying to fill every gap with unnecessary details, only to realize that the true message becomes lost in the overflow. This challenge can weigh heavily on your spirit, making you feel as if every attempt at expression is a battle against your own tendency to ramble. In your personal or spiritual journey, you have come to understand that the noise of filler words only clouds your inner wisdom, diluting the essence of what you truly wish to convey. It is a battle between the impulse to share every fleeting thought and the need to speak with clarity and precision. This emotional tug-of-war can leave you feeling vulnerable and exposed, as if the world demands more than you are willing to give. Yet, within this struggle lies the opportunity to rediscover the power that comes from speaking with impact, an art that transforms every word into a beacon of meaning and purpose. There is a divine preparation hidden within this very challenge, one that calls you to align your speech with the wisdom of the ages. Ancient Stoic thinkers recognized that every word holds a weight of intention, and Marcus Aurelius himself taught, "Be brief and precise." Yet, beyond this well-known advice, there exists a lesser-known insight from the Stoic philosopher Gaius Musonius Rufus, who believed that the clarity of one's speech is a mirror of a clear mind. He once said, in his own measured way, that one who speaks with purpose is a master of both thought and action, urging individuals to trim away the excess until only the vital truth remains. This divine preparation is not merely about reducing words. It is about cultivating the inner discipline to discern which thoughts are worth sharing and which are best left unsaid. The universe, in its infinite wisdom, is preparing you to use your words as instruments of change rather than as a means to fill silence. Every instance of self-censorship and every moment of reflection is a step toward mastering the art of impactful speech, transforming what might seem like a simple act of communication into a powerful declaration of your inner strength and clarity. As you begin to practice this mindful approach to speech, tangible signs of transformation start to reveal themselves in your daily life. You may notice that your conversations become more meaningful, and people begin to listen more intently when you speak. There is a subtle shift in how others respond to you, an unspoken respect that grows as your words become lighter yet more resonant. Opportunities start emerging from conversations that once felt shallow, and relationships shift as others begin to mirror the clarity and precision you now embody. Internally, you experience a newfound sense of confidence and peace, as if each carefully chosen word is a brick in the foundation of your personal empowerment. Imagine a sculptor delicately chipping away at a block of marble to reveal a hidden masterpiece. Your journey is similar. With every moment of intentional speech, you chip away at the clutter and reveal the elegant truth beneath. It is as if Stoic wisdom is gently guiding your hand, aligning your thoughts with your higher purpose, and transforming every dialogue into a meaningful exchange that elevates both you and those who listen. In this ongoing process of transformation, you come to realize that the art of speaking with impact is not a skill to be learned overnight, but a lifelong practice of mindfulness and discernment. Your inner growth and spiritual journey are reflected in every conversation, every silent pause, and every deliberate word that leaves your lips. The clarity in your speech mirrors the clarity in your mind, and each interaction becomes an opportunity to manifest your true self. The struggle to speak concisely, to eliminate filler and unnecessary rambling, becomes a ritual of self-respect, a reaffirmation that your voice, though it may be quiet at times, carries the full weight of your wisdom and experience. As you continue to refine your communication, you build a reservoir of inner strength that fortifies you against the noise of the world. The transformation is not just external. It is a deep internal shift that redefines how you relate to others and, more importantly, how you relate to yourself. The power is no longer measured by the volume of your words, but by the quality and intention behind each one, ensuring that your message is not just heard but felt. Now, as you stand at the threshold of this renewed understanding, the call to action is clear and empowering. The moment has arrived to reclaim the power of your words and to speak with the precision and impact that you have always possessed. Every time you prepare to speak, pause and ask yourself if your words are necessary, if they add value, and whether they stem from a place of wisdom rather than ego. This disciplined approach will ensure that your speech is not diluted by the excessive filler, but is sharpened by the intent behind every phrase. You have learned that the true strength of communication lies in the art of saying less while conveying more, a lesson that they never wanted you to learn. The power is not in the quantity of words, but in the quality and intent that give them weight and meaning. Your journey toward impactful speech is a testament to the Stoic principles of self-mastery and intentionality, marking a profound shift in how you connect with the world around you. Comment I am Stoic if this resonates with you, if you are ready to harness the power of your words and let every utterance carry the weight of your purpose. Embrace the wisdom of the Stoics and remember that your voice is a tool of transformation, one that can uplift, inspire, and command respect when used with deliberate care. Let this be a reminder that every word you choose has a power to shape your reality, and that true impact comes from the art of speaking with intention and clarity. As you step forward on this path, know that you are part of a timeless tradition of thinkers and those who have understood that minimal words, chosen wisely, can create ripples of change that echo through the ages. Stay strong, remain focused, and let your word be a testament to the power of a well-tended spirit. So now you know the truth. The less you speak, the more powerful you become. The greatest minds in history, Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, Epictetus, all knew this. And now, so do you. Are you ready to start using your words like a weapon? Then take action now. Like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who needs to reclaim their power. And for the final step, comment I am Stoic below.